so what we're doing is we're doing day 2 of factoring trinomials using tic-tac-toe. And if you'll notice what we've done here is now we have a number other than 1 in front of our x squared here. Okay? So now we're getting into where this method is really going to help you to be able to solve these, because the other ones before you might have been able to look at and kind of, if you've got a really good number sense, figure it out. Here, when we start getting into these types of numbers and some of the other ones later on, this is really going to come in handy for what we're doing, okay? So remember, when you're using the tic-tac-toe method, A goes here, so this 3 is going to go right here. C goes here, so this number, the 20, is going to go right here. Then you're going to multiply them together to get this number, okay? Then you're going to add these two numbers to get your B, and they're going to have to multiply to get your number that's going to be over here, all right? These two numbers will multiply to get this number, and these two numbers will multiply to get these numbers. These two will multiply to get this, and these two will multiply to get this. And that seems like there's a lot there, but as you get into this, this really is a very useful tool in order to be able to do this, okay? So again, A goes here, C goes here, multiply them together to get this. All right, so here we go. A goes here. Well, that's the 3. Okay? C goes here. That's the 20. And when I multiply them together, I get 60. Okay? All right, that's just the first part of this. Now, we need to look and see what two numbers can multiply to get our 3. Well, 1 and 3 multiply to get 3. So that's definitely the two numbers that go here, 1 and 3. Okay? But then, when we're looking at 20, now we have different pairs here that'll do this. We've got 1 and 20, we've got 2 and 10, and we got 4 and 5, and all of these will multiply to get 20. All right, so we got to figure out which ones go in here in order to do this. All right, and that's really what we're looking at doing, is figuring out what two numbers go here, and then we look at these two numbers, see which ones add up, and we go from there. All right, so 4 and 5. Let's do 4 and 5. 4 and 5. Well, 3 times 4 will get us 12. 1 times 5 will get us 5. Oh, and wait, we need to have our B over here. We need to be able to add to get our B, which is negative 17. Negative 17. All right, well, 5 times 12 gets us 60, but when I add these two together, it doesn't get us 17. Okay, so now we have an issue, right? We got to come back in here and we got to relook at it and say, well, wait, this is a negative number, so one of these has to be negative, and possibly both of them, okay? We know that it's probably both of them because this right here is a positive number, right? If this was a negative number, then one of these two would be negative. So the only way that we get here is if both of these are negative, okay? So 3 times negative 4 gets us negative 12, and 1 times negative 5 gets us negative 5. Now, when we add them together, we get a negative 17. When we multiply them together, we get a positive 60. That's really what you're looking at. Now, here's the deal. If I hadn't chose 4 and 5, if I had chosen 2 and 10, all right, well, I'd have placed them and then try to figure it out, okay? And I would have went through it. I would have flipped them back and forth, used the negatives of these two, and saw, oh, that wouldn't work. And then I would do the same thing with the 1 and 20, okay? Pick the one that makes the most sense to you in order to use at the first, and then go through all the combinations of that number and go through it like that. Okay? Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Now, one other thing, or actually a couple other things. If I had switched these, watch this. Okay? 5 and 4. Okay? 3 times negative 5 gets me negative 15. 1 times negative 4 gets me negative 4. It wouldn't have worked. would not have worked. Because negative 15, negative 4, don't add to get me 17, don't multiply to get 60. Or, wait, 4 times 5. 20, yeah. Oh, it does multiply to get 60, but it doesn't add to get negative 17, sorry. Paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, so this wouldn't have worked because it doesn't add me here, okay? But now, whenever I move them around, the 4 and the 5, that gets me the negative 12, that gets me the 5, add them together, that gets here. Now the other thing that you got to do from here is set it up, okay? So you have 3x minus 5, okay? Because this goes here, and now this goes here, and this goes here. This is the answer you're looking to get. And later on, we're going to use this for other things, okay? But right now, we need to be able to get 2 here, all right? That's what we need to be able to do, okay? And yeah, I mean, that's it. Okay. All right, 4x squared plus 22x plus 10. Pay attention to these because you need to take your greatest common factor out first before you do anything, all right? So, what is our greatest common factor here? Well, this is divisible by 2, this is divisible by 2, and this is divisible by 2. You need to pull that greatest common factor out first, and then deal with your trinomial from there, okay? So we're going to take 2 out of this. So that leaves us with 2x squared plus 11x plus 5, okay? Now we're going to set this off to the side, and then we're going to deal with just this. All right. Here's our tic-tac-toe, okay? A goes here, that's the 2. C goes here, that's the 5. Multiply them together to get here, and these two things add to get our B. All right, that's what we're looking at. And then we go, okay, well, what can I multiply here to get here? Well, that's the 1 and 2. So 1 and 2. All right, and then what do we multiply here to get the 5? Well, that's 1 and 5. Okay, so just place them and let's see what we get. Well, 1 times 5 gets us 5. 2 times 1 gets us 2. 5 times 2 gets us 10, but does 5 plus 2 get us 11? Well, that doesn't work, so now we got to go back and look at something. Figure out what we have going on here. Okay, so let's rearrange these and see if it works from there. So 1 here, 5 here. Well, these two still get us this. These two still get us the 5. But now 1 times 1 gets us 1, and 2 times 5 gets us 10. Well, 10 times 1 gets us 10, and 10 plus 1 gets us 11. Okay, so now we have them in the right spot because everything checks out. So now we have this, and we have this. All right, so here's our deal. Now we're going to bring back in the 2. 2 goes here, x plus 5, x plus 5, okay? And then 2x plus 1. There is our trinomial factored out, okay? The 2 is still there, it doesn't just disappear, okay? So take out your greatest common factor, that would be the 2 in this case, then factor out your trinomial to figure out what you have left, okay? All right, 4x squared minus 5x plus 7. It's in order, that's good. There's nothing that can be taken out. There's no greatest common factor. So now we're just going to get into our tic-tac-toe. The A goes here, C here. Going to add to get our B, and we're going to multiply here. Okay? Now, what do we multiply to get 4? Well, we can multiply 1 and 4, 2 and 2. And then what can we multiply to get the 7? Well, 1 and 7. Okay, so this is pretty well set. It's gonna be one of those two numbers are gonna be in there. Now we gotta check these numbers over here to figure out what can come over here to multiply to get us 28 and add to get us -5. All right, well, that's -5. Some of these probably gotta be negative in here, right? Okay, so we gotta figure out where that's gonna go. All right, so it's gotta be -1, -4, okay? Because -1 gets us -1, -4, 7's -28, and those two don't add up to get us -5. They do get us a +28, but that doesn't work. Okay, so let's change this around. All right, let's move the 1 here and the 4 here. This is where the little bit of that guess and check comes in, okay? So -4 times 1 gets us -4. -1 times 7 gets us -7. Those two get to 28, but when you add them together, it doesn't get us to -5. Okay, so we've done these. Can't be those, okay? So we gotta come back over here, and we still know it's gotta be negative because otherwise we can't get a -5 over here. All right, so we're gonna use the 2's, 2 and 2. -2 times 1 gets us -2. That gets us -14, and then, well, that gets us to 28, but it still doesn't add us to -5. And these two, it doesn't matter how you switch them, it's still gonna be there, so that doesn't work. Okay, now, when you get all the way through all of these, and you go, none of them work, okay? This is called prime or non-factorable. Either way, that's what you're looking at here. So this one is prime or non-factorable. Okay? That's what you're looking at. All right? So we went through all the different scenarios that you could have, and none of them worked. Okay? That happens sometimes. It just does. But make sure you exhaust all your possibilities before you label it as this. Because a lot of times what will happen is, it'll work, you just miss something. So watch that, all right? Okay, so -4x second minus 15x minus 14. Hold on, our video. All right, -4x squared minus 15x minus 14. We're still good? Okay. Notice negative, negative, and negative. If all three of these are negative, take out a -1. Okay? You might be able to take out a -2 or a -3 or something else, but absolutely take out the -1. So we're going to factor out -1 and leave us with 4x squared plus 15x plus 14. Okay? And then we're going to come over here and we're going to create our tic-tac-toe. All right. 4 goes here, 14 goes there. 56 goes here. Sorry, a little bit of math. 15 goes here. Okay, so now we're looking for two numbers that can multiply to get 56 and add to get 15. And that's what we're looking at. Okay, so now we're going to list out all our numbers. 1 and 4, 2 and 2. These numbers get us here. Okay, and now we're going to list out our 14. So 1 and 14, 2 and 7. That'll get us our 14. Okay, and we're just going to substitute. We're going to pick them in here and pick one and set them in there. You can choose the 1 and the 4. You can choose the 2 and the 2, the 1 and the 14, the 2 and the 7. But pick one, leave it, and then go through all the scenarios with one, then do the other, go through all the scenarios that way, okay? So, let's do 2 and 2. Okay, 2 and 2, that's these. Now we're gonna try 1 and 14, okay? 2 times 1 gets us 2, 2 times 14, 28, but I can stop right now. Look, 28 and 2 do not add up to 15. Okay, so not those. All right, and if I reverse it, it doesn't matter, right? It's still ends up in the same spot. That's why I kind of chose the 2s to begin with, right? Because I know I don't have to reverse them, right? So now I'm going to do the 2 and the 7. All right, 2 times 2 is 4, 7 times 2 is 14. They don't add to be 15. Okay, so it's not those. So those don't work. Okay, so that means that the 2's don't work. So now I'm going to go back to the 1 and the 4. 1 and 4. And then I'm just going to place them, right? 1 and 14. 1 times 1 gets me 1. 4 times 14 gets me 56. But it doesn't add to be 15. Now, you probably would have went, oh, that number sense, that doesn't make any sense, so why would you use that number? That's fine, okay? But you might have tried this. 14 and 1. 1 times 14 gets you 14. 4 times 1 gets us 4. Again, does not add up to 15, so that doesn't work. Okay, so now we're done with the 1 and the 14, okay? So now we know it's got to be the 2 and the 7, otherwise it's prime, right? Okay, so 2, 7. 1 times 2 is 2, 4 times 7 is 28. And 28 plus 2 doesn't get us 15, so that doesn't work. Okay, so this has got to flip over, otherwise we're in trouble here, right? 1 times 7 gets us 7, 4 times 2 gets us 8, and 8 times 7 gets us 56, 8 plus 7 gets us 15. There's our solution, right? Okay, we like this setup. So we got the 2 and the 7, and we got them in the right spots, right? Because having them in the right spots is part of it. Now we need to rewrite it. We still have our -1 up here. Don't lose that, right? And then we have our binomials here. We have this one, and we have this one, and you got to make sure to put them in the right spot. This goes here with the x. This goes here. This goes here, or x plus 7. Okay? There is our solution. -1, 1x plus 2, and 4x plus 7. Okay? And again, later on, we're going to do stuff with these. Okay? But right now, we need to be able to get to those. Okay? We've got to be proficient in that before we can go any further. All right? So make sure that you've practiced this a lot. This is where the tic-tac-toe really comes in useful, being able to use this little bit of guess and check so that you can get to these up here, okay? Guys, I wished I'd have known about this whenever I was coming through this. It makes it much easier. Yeah, it's a little bit of work and it takes a little bit of time, but it makes the walking through it much easier so you don't miss something, okay? Do exactly what I did right there, going through that. It'll make it so much easier. If you have any questions, need help, let me know.